Kay Michelle here again. Thanks for joining me today. Today I'm going to be discussing this beauty, which is the Rolex GMT Master 2. This is the black and blue bezel, sometimes dubbed the new Batman or the Batgirl style. So we're going to be discussing that today. Today's video is going to be separated into two parts. How to know your watch like a pro, where we're going to cover just a brief history so that you understand where this watch came from, the basic watch components that you need to understand, and then the specific specifications or the specific details on this particular model. After that, we're going to do an introduction on how to get started using your GMT Master 2, which is how to adjust the bracelet using the EasyLink comfort extension system, how to wind it if you need it, if you're not wearing it every day and you pull it out of your safe place, and then also how to set the local or the reference time, and finally how to read or set an alternate time zone. So hopefully this will help you if you're deciding on getting this or if you already have it and getting started. The first section is how to know your watch like a pro. And honestly, I personally believe you need to understand a little bit of the history if you want to talk through your watch and what makes it special. So the Rolex GMT Master was actually introduced in 1955. And it's one of Rolex's tool watches, which means it has a specific function. It's not just a dress watch. I call it a sport watch, but most watch enthusiasts call it a tool watch. And this was actually at a request for Pan Am Airlines, which needed a way for their pilots to be able to read alternate time zones during kind of the beginnings of the jet age, when people were finally crossing multiple time zones. So the very first version allowed the pilot to read 2 time zones concurrently. So GMT stands for Greenwich Mean Time, which was one of the international ways of setting and understanding what time you were across the world. First model of this featured a bakelite bezel. This right here is a ceramic bezel, and it's beautiful. But the very first one was a bakelite bezel. That was actually eventually recalled for radioactivity concerns after one of the pilots sued Rolex for saying that the bakelite gave him cancer, which might have happened. There have been numerous iterations of this watch throughout the years, and watch enthusiasts love to give these watches nicknames. In 1983, the GMT Master 2 was released, and there was a period of time where there was the GMT Master and the GMT Master 2. But the GMT Master 2 was released in 1983, and it featured a quick set hour hand. I'm just going to talk about some of the watch components and some of the specifications that come with this model. So first thing is the case. It is, and yes, this is a chopstick. It is a 40 millimeter size case, and it does fit pretty comfortably. It is not too big, and I have a 6-inch or 15 centimeter wrist, and it does fit comfortably, and I think it looks pretty good on my wrist. So the next thing is this right here, this blue and black. As I mentioned before, that is called the bezel, and that is an actual that's made of ceramic, so that's a ceramic bezel. The black is meant to represent night and the blue day, and it is bi-directional and rotatable, and that actually helps you keep track of 3 different time zones. So that actually helps you keep track of 3 different time zones, which is a nice feature. So the crystal, or the part that looks like glass, it's not. It's actually a sapphire crystal, and it's scratch resistant, and it's got this Cyclops lens, which over the date to help magnify the date here. I'm trying to get it to focus. Hopefully that works. Okay. The dial, the face is black on this particular one, and we'll talk about the hands in a second. I might have to switch the hands just so we can see them a little bit better. So there are actually 4 hands. I'm going to take this little pointer tool out again. So you've got your hour hand, which is the one that has the little Mercedes-like emblem on it. So there's that one, which is the hour hand. You then have, of course, your minute hand right there. You've got your second hand with a little dot on it. And then you've got a blue, I don't know if you can see it, but there is, yep, there we go. There's a blue hand with an arrow tip, and that is the 24-hour hand, and that's what you set your reference time on. So if you are trying to keep track of 2 different time zones, you would set that the blue hand as your reference, and you would set the hour hand as whatever local time zone you're in. And the way that Rolex has made this is to where you don't actually have to adjust the minutes and seconds, and you can keep really good time by just resetting the local time, which we'll cover in a second. So the indices, the part where the numbers to represent the hours would be, those have a luminescent material, so it does glow in the dark. So they have a luminescent material in them, and they are actually framed in white gold. Let me turn the light off so you can see. And that's it, how well it glows in the dark. Okay. Let me get the right lighting here. There we go. Okay. And then the crown, which is this part right here, it is a winding crown, and I will show you how to use that as well. The bracelet itself, and I'm going to take it off at this point, is back in 2013 when this date, the GMT Master 2 with the blue-black bezel debuted. This was actually an oyster style bracelet in 2019, and that was dubbed the original Batman. That has since been discontinued, and in 2019 Rolex replaced the oyster style with this Jubilee style bracelet, which is a little bit of a dressier watch or a dressier bracelet. And so this new style, you can people are either calling it the new Batman or the Batgirl. Okay. And it is a oyster steel, so it's this all stainless steel bracelet. It has a really nice shine to it. And it's Rolex's own version of a 409 stainless steel alloy. And it's very, it's corrosion resistant. So lastly, there is the clasp closure, and I've already got my fingerprints all on it. Closure features the Rolex emblem, and it has they call it the Oyster Lock folding safety clasp, and you can just get underneath right here, pop it up. I've got nails, so I try to be particular, but as you can tell, I'm not super particular sometimes. And there's this part right here, and that is how you clasp it and unclasp it. Okay. And then it does have a, it is water resistant to 100 meters. Here's the case back. I don't know if I'll be able to get a really good look at it. There's no markings or anything, but I do want to talk about this, the way that you adjust the bracelet. So I had my local dealer who sold it to me. They took out the extra links to make it fit for my wrist. And of course save those links in case you ever need to resize it up or if you gift it to someone. But there's this really cool feature for, this is how it is whenever I wear it on the loosest setting. Sorry, it's cringy when you see someone take off or put on the watch with their rings on. And so this is, again, I'm going to zoom out just a tad, but I've got a 6-inch wrist, and that's after a few links have been taken out on me. And as you can see, it does have a little bit of play, not much, because I don't like my watches sliding around, to be honest with you. But there's actually a way to make it a little bit tighter on my own that my sales associate taught me. So, and it took me a little while to get the hang of it until I actually saw what the mechanism is. I'm pretty mechanically inclined, so I like to see things, but as you can see, there's this little hook inside of here. It's like a little divot, and it just matches perfectly up. And if you just take it and kind of fold it in like this and get it to hook on and press it, I've kind of messed it up, there we go. It will actually click, and it'll tighten it about 5 millimeters. And they call that, I think they're EasyLink Comfort Extension System, and mine gets pretty tight with that, and I wear it like this probably about 25% of the time. And that does help me to adjust it based on what other bracelets I'm wearing or what top I'm wearing with it. And then you undo that quite simply by coming here and just pulling it out until you hear a click, like that. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to talk about winding the watch. So typically the watch gets its energy from your wrist movements, but just in case you've had it in storage, you've had it in your safe, your safety deposit box, whatever the case may be, worn one of your other really nice watches, you will have to wind it. You will potentially have to wind it when you get it out, or you probably will if it's gone past its power reserve. So and this particular model, as I mentioned earlier, has a 70-hour power reserve. So the first thing you're going to do is, right now it's in position 0, which means it's fully in, and it's got the trip lock system, so it's waterproof right now. So I'm going to take this crown, which winds, and I'm going to unscrew it towards me in order to unlock it. So just do that. You will feel it pop out when it's done. There we go. And you can see the little O-rings or gaskets exposed right now. So at this point, it's not waterproof. Okay, so at this point, it's now time to wind. I typically like to wind this a good 20 to 30 times, which would hopefully be at least 15 turns. You can do a little bit more. You can't overwind this watch, is what I believe I read about it in my research, what I determined. Research, watching YouTube channels. But anyways, and so you just literally, once it's in position 1 now, you can just wind this. And I try to do, like I said, 20 complete turns, which is about twice that, since I usually only go about half of a turn each one of these winds. Okay, so now that it's fully wound, this is whenever you can pull it out to position 2 now. So it's 0 when it's kind of completely waterproof, 1 whenever you're just winding it, 2 if you're not going to be traveling and all you want to do is set it with your current hour. So right now it's about 2:10, and let's say it's the 12th, so I'm going to go until I get this to go to the 12th. And it's 2 p.m. right now, so I'm going to go around one more time until I get to the 2 p.m. mark. There we go. And then if I want to set the minute hand, I'm going to go out one more time to position 3, and that's going to allow me to set the minutes to 2:10. Okay, then I can push it in, and as you notice, whenever I push back into position 2, the second hand starts moving again. So the watch is now keeping time at this point. Okay, now if I do actually plan to travel, then I need to go ahead and set the reference time instead. So the reference time is the time of like where you're coming from typically, and you can do it whichever way you want. So the first thing you want to start off was with this bezel, this 24-hour bezel with the 12 o'clock or with the 0 hour right there at the 12 o'clock time on the dial. The reference hand is this blue arrow-tipped hand, and so let's say I'm going to California where it's 2 hours earlier, so I'm going to set that for my time now, which is 2:10, and so I'm going to click back out and go to where I'm moving this minute hand, which is also going to move my reference time. So in this case, I'm going to go back and I'm going to make this be 2:10. So here we go. And you're going to go that particular little hand, because it's a 24-hour hand, I want it to actually, instead of corresponding with the numbers on the dial or the indices on the dial, I want it to correspond with the numbers on the bezel. So I'm going to go until I get to 2. So that is now pointing at the 2 and 10. There we go. Now it's 2:11. Okay. And so now I'm going to push this in, and now I'm in position 2 again, and I'm going to take that Mercedes tipped, the hour hand with the Mercedes emblem on it, or the Mercedes looking emblem on it. And obviously, let me see what I did. There we go. And I am going to set that one to the local time. So if it's 2 o'clock here, then that means it would be 12 o'clock in California, because I'm in Texas, and that'll be 2 hours different. I sure hope I'm right about that. Mountain Pacific. Yeah, I'm Central. Okay. And so at this point, I now have the watch set, so I can bring that all the way back into position 1. And then to ensure that I've got waterproofness on this, I'm going to press this in, and at the same time of rotating it until I can't rotate anymore. And now I know that I've got my waterproof seal in. And that's how you set the watch if you're going to be traveling. Well, I hope that that was helpful, and I hope you enjoyed this just quick introduction into the Rolex GMT Master 2, the Batman or Batgirl edition. And please, if you like this type of content and you'd like to support my channel, I'd love it if you would like and subscribe, and see you next time. Have a blessed day.